reading from John's Gospel, and the important key word is light. Light, light. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. There was a man sent from God, whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all men through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. There was true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of men. I am come a light into the world, that whosoever believeth on me should not abide in darkness. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me hath everlasting life.
You know the Bible well.
He does.
I can try. What do you need?
Do you know what it says? Jesus said, those who love their life will lose it,
Yes.
and those who lose it for my sake will
Yeah,
find it.
it's in Matthew and Luke, I think.
But what does
Synoptics.
he actually mean? Can you,
Well,
do you have understanding?
yeah,
I mean, lots of people
well,
have Bible knowledge, but they don't have the understanding.
What it basically means is if you lose your life, you find it. And if you find it, you lose it. It's a paradox. Because to follow Christ could cost you your life. And if you lose your physical life, you get everlasting life as a result of following the Lord.
So you have to lose this, you have to be prepared to give up this life.
Potentially,
You're giving up this
for the
life,
first
yeah.
century, to be a Christian meant death, basically. You were seen as an enemy of the state.
Why were the enemy?
Because they would only worship one God,
Oh yeah,
not many gods.
yeah.
And the Romans said that Caesar was a god, he was a deity, and the Christians wouldn't worship a man.
Right, yeah.
So
yeah.
to follow Christ in the first century, in fact for many centuries,
But
meant
what does
death.
it mean in this century? It means giving up all pleasures. Doesn't
Well, in the context, it's about martyrdom. In the context, it says elsewhere, "If you love me, if you love me, you'll follow me. Do as I say, and you'll lay your life down for the brethren." Because
Yeah.
it costs a lot to follow the Lord in the early centuries. It still does in parts of the world today. In the Middle East, for example, people are being killed.
Yeah.
China as well, North Korea. But in this country, most people haven't really got into the understanding of what it means to be a disciple of the Lord, to truly follow him.
No, that's true. I mean, you can still be going to church and going through the
Exactly.
motions, but they're
It
not
means
living,
nothing.
living
Yeah.
the life, you know.
Yeah, it's basically martyrdom, as I say. It means to lay your life down for the Lord, or for the sake of the brethren, like during World War II.
You give up all sense pleasures, don't you?
Well, you should turn your back. Yeah, I mean, if you
You
say,
take- I mean, you couldn't.
if you're
could
saved-
you go in a pub for a pint?
I personally couldn't.
No.
But some people could. That comes under liberty of Christ.
Does it?
but also-
each one has to find out for himself.
The
Work out
problem-
your own salvation.
No,
Find out for yourself.
it's not for your salvation. It's how your testimony is perceived. If I was a former alcoholic,
Oh yeah.
and you say you never were, and you could drink a pint, say once or twice a week, and it didn't affect you at all, but for me,
Yeah.
it would floor me because I'd be back on the booze within 5 minutes. If we're both Bible believers,
Yeah.
you shouldn't go to the pub if I'm near you, because
Yeah.
it's going to cause me to stumble.
True. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good
But
point.
liberty,
But
fine.
there is some freedom.
There's lots of freedom.
Because Jesus said He set you free, but on the other hand,
Yeah.
He's only referring to bondage. You're still becoming a slave.
Well, you're free from the law and the condemnation of the law, and the truth shall set you free. So there's freedom from the condemnation of the law, which is great. There's freedom from the bondage of sin,
Yeah.
which is
yeah.
even better,
That's better.
because we're born in sin.
Yeah.
And if we serve the Lord, we get victory over the flesh. But if we don't serve Him, the flesh gets a hold of us again.
Yeah.
We're back to where we were before we got saved. Not as far as our salvation is concerned, but our daily routine. That's why you don't want to backslide if you can help it. Because if you backslide, it's hard to break it.
What happens if you do backslide? Do you think once saved, always
Yes,
saved?
it has to be. There's no other way this is going to work.
Once saved, always
It has to be that way, because if we're all so sinful.
Yeah.
If you go through the Old Testament carefully,
Yeah.
study David sometime, study Lot sometime, study King Saul sometime.
Yeah.
Look at those guys very carefully. Look at their behaviour. Look at
Right.
Lot. He flees Sodom and Gomorrah with his 2 daughters.
Yeah.
His daughters have the faith to leave him, which is great, or to leave Sodom. They had the faith to follow their father out of Sodom. The wife starts off, but she turns back,
Yeah.
becomes a pillar of salt. So her heart was never right with the Lord. But his daughters, although they got into the sin of incest later, they had the faith to follow their father out of Sodom and Gomorrah. Of course,
Yeah.
the end is a pretty pitiful story of 3 of them in a cave,
Yeah.
and it's obviously incense, and 2 bastard children are born to Lot. But the point is, he's called a righteous man in the New Testament. He's
Yeah.
called a just man. But to
Oh.
read about him in the Old Testament, you would have thought he's in hell today, but he wasn't. He's not. So yes, it has to be once saved, always saved, because Christ's blood atonement is a one-off payment, all of your past, present, and future sins. Otherwise, if we haven't got once saved, always saved, then we have to keep ourselves saved,
Yeah.
which then goes against the atonement, because we can't have 2 saviours saving us. Either he saves us or we save ourselves.
Well, you know, so it's all about, it's not about personal responsibility.
Of course it is. Go
Because society today is weighed in favour of those who are irresponsible and reckless, where single mothers can get pregnant, get their houses, everything. The more reckless you are, the more,
Yeah.
in today's modern world, the more reckless, the more irresponsible you are,
Of
the
course.
more you get provided for.
you reap what you sow.
But in Christianity, you're still accountable. There's still a judgment.
Oh,
isn't there?
very much
There's
accountable.
still going to be a judgment, even for the saved.
Right, so for the Christian, it's the judgment seat of Christ.
Yeah.
For the lost, it's a great white throne judgment.
Yeah.
So if you're born again, I don't know if you are or not, but if you trusted Christ to save you, have you
Yeah.
trusted Christ to save you? Are you walking with the Lord?
Well, no, I wasn't. I'm just talking. I'm the person who's back.
So you backslid. How long have you been backslidden for?
Well,
How many?
It's been a constant. It's been
Months, years?
Constant. It's been about. I don't know. I was saved, and then I was riding the crest of a wave in ecstasy type of thing, and then I just sin got hold of me, and I just give up too easy, and I've fallen back into it. So the thing is, I now can see it from the other side of the fence, where I'm asking you questions that you should be plain, but you lose your clarity of your mind as well. You lose your consciousness.
When was the last time you prayed to the Lord sincerely? Had a good 15, 20-minute prayer service, just you and him, on your knees. Can you remember?
Well, I don't do it for that long. I mean, I do.
10 minutes?
I do my mantras.
Well, a mantra is like a repetitive prayer. You want to watch that?
Yeah, I know it does say something about that. but
Matthew
the thing-
6 says
but
vain
it-
repetition,
but
as the heathen do.
If you keep your mind on the Lord, it's better
Yeah.
still in it. So it's my way, because I've got, you know, I can do 10 minutes of thanks God for this day and whatever you provided. So, but I mean, going on that, it just bores me. I used to have a routine. I'm getting up every morning with set prayers, and I read it, and it just is my head. I can't stand routine.
Yeah, I
so
hear what you're
that
saying.
destroyed me.
It's not.
I have to live spontaneous.
It's too mechanical.
mechanical. Yeah.
So here's a question for you. If I wasn't a Bible believer,